This is going to be a fully detailed Solar Beam Venusaur guide, why I'm going to be using GigaDrain over SludgeBomb. This Pokemon is ridiculously strong right now. The Slick Spoon has made Venusaur an absolute menace. This Pokemon is super strong as soon as he hits level 7, and if you're level 13 in this Rayquaza fight, you are dictating how the fight is going to go. You are holding your ground. You're ensuring that the enemies come into the Rayquaza pit when they've been chunked by a big Solar Beam, and you're able to pick up big kills when they're not even inside of the Rayquaza pit. Guys, this Pokemon is absolutely slept on. The Solar Beam late game with the Slick Spoon allows for a little bit better secure, especially on some of these big tanks. And the Solar Beam not only is awesome for chunking the enemies, but if they decide to rip, you can just safely from a distance get a big Solar Beam for a kill, or a big Solar Beam even for the secure. The enemies would be out of their mind to try and secure the objective in front of you. And that's what makes this Pokemon one of the best ranged attackers right now, is his ability to just secure an objective and secure the farm off of the enemies. I'm gonna fully detail how you want to use this Pokemon in every single situation in the game, and why I think it's a very, very solid pick right now. So first things first, what I've noticed when I'm playing this game and I'm seeing my teammates' builds, a lot of people are running stacking. And when you're using this Venusaur build, which is the Wise Glasses, the specs, the non-stacking specs, and the Spoon, you're able to do immense damage. You're able to secure farm really well early from a distance, and you're actually able to support your laner, who's generally at the moment I'm finding a lot of people are running stacking, right? So one thing that you want to be careful for is dying early, and you're going to notice when you use this build he is a little bit squishy, so you need to just be a little bit more careful than what I was there. But ultimately your goal when you're playing this in SoloQ is maybe try and support your teammate a little bit when they're doing the stacking, but you want to secure farm and you just want to try not to die. That's the goal. Okay, now in this game we've just had the jungler, which is Sableye for some weird reason. He's come out and he's just bullied our lane, right? Now our jungler's responded pretty well because he's decided to come up and get some kills, but really this is your goal, right? Your goal is to get to level 7 and secure as much farm as you can. You're not trying to take on fights, you're not trying to score, you're just trying to out-secure the farm. Now you don't want to be over pushing. In this particular game I was kind of limit testing with this build, and so I'm dying quite a bit and I'm learning where I should be standing. I probably with this build I don't want to go over halfway between the lane because I just don't have the mobility to get back enough. Now that's going to bring me to my point when I'm talking about the build, but I think that you probably want to be using speed emblems on Venusaur. Speed emblems, because being in position is just so valuable, and I'm going to follow it up in a video after this one. But yeah, I go speed emblems on Venusaur with this build, not cooldown reduction. Okay, so pretty much what you're looking to do is you're just looking to get your level 7, because as soon as you get your level 7 you're able to provide so much value. You can just chunk enemies, because the way Solar Beam works is it's not a single target, you can chunk a big row of them. And especially the width of Solar Beam, it's like a Coke can. It's thick, right? It's almost like the entire diameter of the Goalzone. It's ridiculous, right? So what you're able to do is you're able to just stand behind your team and deliver big damage with the Solar Beam. Okay, absolutely strong, absolutely mega strong, right? But again, you'll notice I'm limit testing here and I'm dying quite a bit early. That's something that we probably want to avoid a little bit. Now, when you're using a Venusaur in a duo, ideally you want a bit of support. Okay, you don't want a defender, you want a bit of support. I really like Eldegoss, and I think he's still massively slept on. Again, your goal is you are farming. You're not killing, you're trying to farm, right? You can pinch their farm from a distance. Early, because you've got the 3 offensive items, the damage that you're going to be doing with Razor Leaf and your boosted auto is really good. Okay, really good. The ideal secure you want to do with the Ivysaur is the boosted auto attack, but if you're just doing like a bit of a Hail Mary, you can use Razor Leaf. Razor Leaf, and in particular early, right? When you're like level 6 v level 6, Razor Leaf isn't going to be as strong. But early on, just because you've got the items, so the way the items scale your special attack early on with a Razor Leaf just provides you that a little bit more of an edge. But as the game goes on, it's less useful. So your goal is purely you're getting to level 7 and you're not dying. Here you can see the junglers come down. I'm not looking to fight. I'm not even looking to do damage. I take farm, I run away, and I've got the support helping me out. I'm just looking to take their farm. Here you can see the Hail Mary, and I happen to get it again. So it's just a little bit of luck for me. But if you're not putting yourself in the position to get lucky, then what are you supposed to do there? Okay, so again, a little bit more farm here. We threw out the Razor Leaf, and we managed to secure it. And now I've got the Solar Beam. Okay, now it's very useful that I've got a duo partner with an EXP share. I would recommend this, because the sooner you get to level 7, the more damage and the more scary you are to the enemies. Right? I feel like my duo and I right here, we're doing like a 3v2 and we're just taking them on. Okay, we're taking them on. We're constantly in a 3v2 situation and we're able to just steal the farm. Right? That's what we're going for. So again, we're not overcommitting. Once you get your level 7, you're kind of just waiting and playing with your team, but you're also working on that level 9 in the process. Notice how Golf's still on 80. Okay, if you use the Venusaur and you play it pretty well, not like I did in the SoloQ game, this game I'm not limit testing here. You can see I'm not even pushing. Right, halfway, I'm not even going over it, unless if I can get it with a beam. And then I get the level 9, even before the 7-minute mark as a laner. Right? So that combo right there, that is the combo that you want to be doing to deal the big damage when you're putting a lot of pressure on the enemies. It's Unite move, follow up with the Solar Beam because you get the cooldown reduction naturally with the Unite move, which is really good. Blue buff always helps, but I think if you've got someone else in your team that's giving you a little bit more value with the blue buff, it's not entirely necessary. Okay, it's more about positioning with Venusaur more than anything. So early game you can definitely be very, very strong. Now, I use GigaDrain instead of SludgeBomb. Let me explain this. The real difference here is GigaDrain gives you sustain, Bomb gives you more damage. I don't believe in flex damage. The big one is you take reduced, 35% reduced damage when you use the GigaDrain. Do you know how insanely good that is? Okay, over SludgeBomb, sure you're going to be doing more damage, but you do 0 damage if you're dead. So you need to make sure you're alive. You need to make sure you're in the right position. That's the most important thing, especially when you're using something like Solar Beam Venusaur. Your positioning trumps everything. Okay, that GigaDrain, I'm going to emphasize it again, 35% reduced damage. Have a look at this fight here. Do you think if I don't land this GigaDrain right there, look how much damage I've taken. If I don't have the 35% reduce, I'm literally dead. Right, I'll replay it down at the bottom corner. You can see my health bar. I'm pretty much dead if I don't land the GigaDrain on him to get that reduced tanking. So, and then notice, every point after that, we follow up, we kill the Venusaur, and we're dictating the middle fight. You're not able to dictate the middle fight if you're dead. There's no point doing flex damage. Just get yourself in the right position, force the enemy to overcommit to try and kill you, get to safety, and sometimes you are going to die. Okay, it's not like you're a Venusaur, okay, you're not a Trevenant. But that 35% reduced damage, that's a lot. And then, like I said, enemies are absolutely crazy if they try and rip in front of you because you've just got so much secure. Look at where I'm standing. I'm not standing in a kill box. I'm just standing in nice open space, making sure that I've got the vision on them. And really, we're just kind of playing a safe round here. Look, you can see the enemies are going to rip, and I put myself in position to get the Solar Beam secure. Right, complete control of the game. Even if they get the Rayquaza there, their team's in a position where they're just going to die anyway. So GigaDrain over Solar Beam, I absolutely would 100% recommend it. It's especially for the Rayquaza fight, and I'm going to highlight this again here, because sometimes you can't even help it. Look, I'm going to slow it down. I land the GigaDrain, and then look at the Lucario comes in. If I didn't land the GigaDrain, I am dead. That's got not really, I probably shouldn't be standing in that position, but I'm trying to help my team out, right? But bottom line is, if you die, you're nothing. You're literally dead, and because you're probably level 13 or something like that, well, you're going to be respawning for a very, very long time. So absolutely, you want to be using GigaDrain. I think you want sustain over flex damage every single time. Now this is the build, and I'm going to talk through the build and the skills. So really you want to pick the Razor Leaf first. You've got the Spoon, the Wise Glasses, the Specs with the Eject, and the emblems you're going to be using are the yellow ones, particularly something that increases the speed of the Pokemon. I'm going to do a video covering speed because I think, honestly, and I know I'm going to get absolutely flamed for this, I already know it, right? I already know it. But I honestly think that the best emblems are the speed increasing ones for these Pokemon like Venusaur, Decidueye, Snorlax, Pokemon that you want to be in the right place with the right time with. Okay, now I'm just going to do a quick point there. That was a very, very bad play from me. I'm limit testing here with the Pokemon. Never ever use your eject button aggressively. Big mistake from me there. However, back to the build, right? You want to be using that triple offense item. Okay, but you got to make sure that you're playing a little bit safely. And I think that you want to get speed increase. I absolutely think you want speed increase because your Solar Beam does 0 damage if you're there at the wrong time. It's like if you're not in the position, don't even bother firing off the Solar Beam. Because what's the point? It's like, I'm Solar Beaming what? An objective that's already been done and chunking the enemies? That's no point. You need to be there to hit the objective, or you need to be there to execute the kill. So I think speed before... People are so greedy in this. People are so greedy in this game. Right, people just need to relax and understand that if you're not there, well, you know, you're not there and you're not any good. Now, there's also the argument in saying that, well, okay, well, how about play better and learn when to run and learn your timing and stuff? And I'm going to say, you're probably right. However, that's a lot easier said than done for a lot of people. And I think you're probably going to be a little bit more forgiven if you're running the speed emblems over something like your special attack or your cooldown reduction emblems. Now, if you just strongly disagree with that, I would love to hear your thoughts because I honestly think that there's nothing wrong with what I'm saying there. I think it's perfectly good. I think it's very beginner friendly. Remember, this channel is not for the pros. Okay, if you're a pro, like go watch Inda or like Latano or someone who's an absolute, like they're much better than I am at this game. Okay, I'm trying to just break down the macro and the micro of this game with the builds and stuff for the average player, the majority of people who just play in the solo and the DuoQ just to improve. So let's talk over some of the skills. Solar Beam. Solar Beam is really, really strong and you want to hit your level 7. It takes you, about 3/4 of a second to fire it off, but when you fire it off, you're doing massive damage over about 1/3 of a second, and it's 10 ticks of damage that it does. Now, half of this damage is a portion of the enemy's max HP. That's really, really, really good at shredding tanks. And you want to know what's also good at shredding tanks? A Slick Spoon. So I think the Slick Spoon has buffed Solar Beam Venusaur really, really nicely. I think it's something that's probably not being talked about, and I've adopted it and I'm getting a little better at it. Okay, my secure is still a little bit dodgy on the Rayquaza. However, I feel like if I can get the secure down a little bit better, oh man, I'm going to be climbing pretty hard, right? But as well as that, I will mention that the current state of the matchmaking right now, I hate to complain, but it is really not good. It's actually quite bad. There are some, like the games I win, it's just an absolute steamroll. The games I lose is just an absolute joke. Okay, back to the build. We're going to talk through the Unite move. The Unite move just does massive burst damage. It gives you movement speed, and it gives you cooldown reduction, and it gives you shield. All of those things are very helpful if you're trying to get yourself in a position to do big damage with a Solar Beam. So this is the combo. I'm about to fire off the combo here. I think I did the combo wrong. I haven't quite used the Unite move yet. It's Unite move and then Solar Beam. Now the Unite move will give you vision. See how much more vision you get with that? So Unite move, Solar Beam, massive damage, and then you follow up because you've got the cooldown reduction, so you can use more Solar Beams. And you use the GigaDrain to keep you alive. It's not the healing of the GigaDrain. It's not the healing. It's the fact that you take reduced damage. It's really, really strong. Okay, I think that's the part of GigaDrain that's probably broken. If anything's probably overlooked, that's not been nerfed or something like that. It's actually really strong. Okay, so that's the build that I think is a good idea to use with the Solar Beam Venusaur. And of course, you're going to get better and better with Solar Beam Venusaur the more you play it, because the Solar Beam takes a little bit of getting used to. Now, one thing that Venusaur is really, really good at is pushing a Goalzone. Have a look at your ability here. Obviously, you've got to play with your team, right? You're not going to do this by yourself. But because they're forced to stand in that one area, and the thick beam that comes out, it just destroys them on the goal zone. Okay, let's talk through the combo. This is the big combo. This is the big boy that you want to do. It's your Night move, followed up with a Solar Beam, and then the GigaDrain to help keep you alive, and then the Solar Beam should be about 1 second after that. Look at the damage. Look at the crazy damage. That's just ridiculous. Right? You should not be able to do that crazy amount of burst damage. And look, you're able to just follow up after that. So that is the combo right there. It's honestly, like compared to Aegislash and compared to Lucario, it's not a very high skill cap, but it's something that you probably don't want to stuff up. Okay, you launch it off. It's your Night move, Solar Beam, GigaDrain, reposition, second Solar Beam. And if you're level 13 Solar Beam, you're probably going to be able to get a third one off, within the span of a short amount of time. Now, I also want to talk about pushing a goal zone. It's top and bottom lane. When you get Solar Beam, this is why you need to hit your level 7 very, very quickly. Look at the work that I'm able to put in with Solar Beam. Obviously, this is pushing with your team. GigaDrain helps keep you alive. Insanely good dodge from that Gardevoir there. It actually caught me. I thought it was dead, but he ejected past that, so it was a really, really good play. So you can also do this in the top lane, especially with the Regieleki, because it forces them to stay in that concentrated space. And Solar Beam is a thick Solar Beam. Solar Beam is so thick. Look at the radius. Look at the diameter. Look at the mathematics of this simple skill. You launch off, you follow up, and you launch off. If your team walks away, you just walk away. But if your team backs you, especially if you're with a duo who's playing something supportive, like look at this. Their whole team's there. There's even a Trevenant, and the Garchomp's come in, the Clefable's come in, right? With even the Urshifu's got stuck into it, and just the beam damage is just constant. It's too much. It's actually too much, and you need to understand that. If you've ever been on the receiving end of this, you'll realize that it is really, really difficult to try and verse. When they're pushing and you've just got beam after beam coming, it's scary. It's just insanely scary. Now, another point with Beam Venusaur is you need to learn how to play around objectives. You're looking to execute kills, but you've got to make sure that you're in a safe space. You've got to make sure, I'm going to repeat that you're in a safe spot. You're not going to rip this thing by yourself. So generally what I'm doing here, right, is I'm just looking to leash it. So it kind of freaks the enemies out that, someone's attacking it. So it forces them to come down and try and do something with the objective. And then you're backing out. Okay, you can see how scary Solar Beam is, right? The enemy's using it, but they're using SludgeBomb. So I think they're probably going to die a little bit easier. However, people can do whatever they want, right? This is just my recommendation. This is just my opinion, right? But here at the objective, you're dancing around, right? You're just looking to do damage. You're looking to be able to zone them away, right? You're just looking to do that. If you're by yourself, you just back out, right? You pan over, you keep an eye on it because you can always eject and Solar Beam to try and get a steal, but you're not ripping it by yourself because that puts you in a bad position and enemies just die for you. Positioning first, you've got to make sure you're in the right spot. And then when you've got the support, so look, the Eldegoss has come down, done amazing work. The Trevenant's come down. Now what I've done here is I've leashed it because I knew that this objective was still going to go on. So I leashed the Registeel out, so a reset, because I wanted to kind of just make a reset because I knew we didn't have the rip down there and just try and pick off kills, right? Pick off kills to reset. So again, this fight's going for a very, very long time. And they're looking to push the top, and we've got teammates up top. So this is a very split objective. However, it is a Registeel. It's a very valuable objective. So you want to make sure that you're not just letting them get it. You don't want to let them secure it. Right here, look, safety first. Don't let them know you're in a bush if you're trying to hide there, right? Especially if you're that deep. You can launch off when your team's there, right? Look at the Trevenant. I'm so glad he backed me up here because we're able to get in. The Solar Beam chunks of both them. We get 1 kill. We got 2 kill, and now our team's down to secure this objective. So there is a little bit of dancing there, and that was a very prolonged objective, but hopefully it makes it very clear of what your role is at the objectives. Okay, your role is to try and get the secure, put yourself in a spot where you're forcing the enemies to do something on low HP. So if you are at the Rayquaza pit with the Venusaur, this is kind of the positioning you want to be taking. You don't really, I'm going to highlight some choke points here in a red. You don't want to get caught up in here for too long. You don't want to get caught up in here for too long. You don't want to get caught up in there for too long. And you absolutely do not want to get caught up in there for too long. And you also don't want to get caught in this zone here. So you've got a bit of movement around that you can do with Venusaur, because the idea is that GigaDrain is going to help keep you alive. GigaDrain is going to help keep you alive, and Solar Beam is just going to absolutely rip damage. I should probably just put another little box here. You don't really, because if you're caught in there, your mobility is very, very limited, especially with something like the Venusaur. So your aim with Venusaur is you want to just be shooting beams into this bush. You want to be here shooting beams into this bush, and if you need to run, you can just go this way. Okay, you can just go back, because generally you're going to have vision behind you. So you want to move into open spaces. You don't want to move into here. This is like, if you want to die, just walk into the Ray area. Like, that's like, if you feel like dying, go there. However, when you're using the Solar Beam, you want to be, and if you ever go into these locations, it's like you're going in to chunk a beam, and then you're getting out. You're going somewhere else. Especially in these areas. You're going in there to chunk a beam if you're playing mega aggressive, but you get out of those areas, particularly where you want vision. Now the Solar Beam, it's really, really nice because it's good secure, so you can kind of float around here and up top this area as well. And you've got beam on every angle because it's circular in the Rayquaza, right? What you don't want to do, I'm going to write this in a brown. You do not sit up here and try and snup the Rayquaza. That's not what you do. The only reason why you're going to sit up here is if you're trying to beam them to stop them from scoring in that goal zone there. Otherwise, it's just a silly idea to be up there. Okay, now obviously all of this is easier said than done, but this is the idea, is that you want to move around in open spaces, and you don't want to get caught in any of those the kill boxes are here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and a mega 7 kill box in there. And generally you're looking, because everything's about the secure, but you want to make sure you've got a couple of things. You need to get level 13. That's thing number 1. And thing number 2, you're taking a fight. You're not ripping the Ray, right? You're taking a fight. You're chunking damage. Essentially, this is your goal. There's a line there. You want to make sure when the enemies are coming in to this line here, that they are on like 70% health at most. You want to be chunking them with a Solar Beam before they even get into the fight. Because that's the one thing Venusaur's got, is a massive advantage with the mega range. So before they even enter the Ray pit, and I'll even draw it around here as well, is that you want to be doing massive, massive damage before they can even get near your team. And that's just, your team will give you a little bit of vision, but you've got to be super aware. And if you're level 13, that cooldown of Solar Beam's like 5 seconds, the casting is like half a second. It's just ridiculous. You just smash, they're just like big bazookas coming out. So let's see it working in practice, right? You've got the combo that you're launching off. See how I don't want to stand in this kill box for too long, because look at what happens. Right, I'm like ejecting out. I'm like, get me out of that kill box, right? That's a very, very dangerous spot to be in. However, that's where the fight converged, and it forced the enemy to be out of position, so our team's able to clean up. And then we've got our Urshifu and our Greninja ripping the objective, while the only one left alive was trying to deal with me. I'm not quite sure why that's how it turned out, but that is how it turned out. So one little more thing here is with the Solar Beam, you can secure this from, like, even if the enemies are zoning you, you can still be in a very safe spot. So I just want to very, very quickly double back on this objective, right? You can secure this from a distance. So if the enemy's looking to rip it, here the only thing zoning me is a Eldegoss, and I'm actually able to get the secure, right? Because you're in the position to do so. And before you get into that Ray pit, see I'm still level 12, it's like get level 13. It, like, obviously if I just hit level 12, then you got to go into the Ray pit at level 13, at level 12. But if you're able to get a level 13, you quickly farm it. You prioritize that. You've got to make sure that you get that level 13. And so here, look, in open spaces, telling the team to gather here. right? I'm dancing around in the open space and I'm just poking the bush, right? Because I got like a 5-second cooldown. And then there goes the big Unite move. Gets a big double kill. That range is really good. And I follow up with the Solar Beam. Now, this is one thing I'm noticing, right? And I lost a couple of games, is that if you got the opportunity to try and score, get that score in. And this is where the speed emblems come in really handy. Okay, see how you're quickly able to backpedal into the Rayquaza pit and you're walking around in the open space. Notice how I'm not walking in a kill box. You're completely safe if you're in the open, right? As long as you got some vision, because you got the eject button, so you're able to dash, right? Notice how, again, I'm maintaining open space. I go to the kill box if I'm trying to get a bit of damage out onto the enemy, right? Playing well with the team, and look, admittedly my team's playing really well here. Again, I'm just going to look to execute if I'm going near kill box. If you've got a lead in this game, you don't need to touch a Rayquaza, and this is where Venusaur is really, really helpful, because if they decide to rip, you've got the secure, and you're just able to chunk them like 40% damage before they even enter the Rayquaza pit. Like, how are they meant to win a fight? So really, really strong if you're able to get a score lead. So that's, you know, if you're playing with your duo, that's probably something that you want to consider, right? But just have a look at the control. Have a look at the control, right? And then you see here, look at the eject. I don't let that Gengar get anywhere near me, right? But the Solar Beam, you can just pick people up. 4 dead, and then we chunk the Eldegoss, so it's like, by the time he walks back in, he's on like 50%. There's absolutely nothing he can do. Chunk the Greninja before he even thinks about coming in. Right, it's so strong. And I noticed the Greninja going to score. I could have scored my 100, but to me, this is a much more satisfying way to end the game. Right, deny the score. Look at that, the Unite move, the Solar Beam, the burst damage it does is insane. You almost wipe a tank. That's how strong it is. And especially with a 1.5% ticks of damage with the Solar Beam. So really, really strong. And I hope this Venusaur Solar Beam guide is going to be useful for you. If you've sat through this entire video and you found it helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you give the video a little bit of a like. And if you're a frequent visitor, maybe consider subscribing, because this is a nice little guide and there's definitely going to be more to come. Venusaur, slept on, get into it.